Hi there, Rachel Kaplan here, licensed psychotherapist and the creator and host of the podcast, The Healing Feeling Shit Show. And this video is here to help you understand the energetics of emotions, because that's a big thing you're working with. I've told you that emotions are sensations, that they're physical, that they need to physically move through the body in order to release, or in order for us to feel lighter and like we're not carrying around a whole backlog of emotions. But the way they move, the energetics of how they move is really different depending on the feeling. So I just want to give you some basics. And I just want to do a shout out to my mentor who prefers I don't use his name, but he really changed my understanding of how to relate to emotions and the nature of emotions and what emotions are like. And so a lot of this understanding comes directly from him. So thanks. Okay. So the gist is the main emotions I'm going to work with you on are anger, sadness, fear, and shame. And also not belonging, which I don't talk about in the podcast, but we'll get to in these videos. So if you think about anger, when you're angry, what does the anger want to do in your body? You know, as far as like what direction does it move, and you know, and maybe before I even ask you that, you can't even talk because you're just a phone, not a person. But I should say that one of the ways he helped me understand these emotions are that they correlate to an element, you know? So what element do you think would correlate to anger? That's right, fire, right? We see red, we have smoke coming out of our ears, we want to destroy, we're like, yeah, right? And so you'll see my movements, it's an explosion. Anger explodes, you know, heat rises. It's like from inside to outside. So it's okay? Sadness, first of all, elementally, what happens when we're sad? What element drips out of our face? That's right, guys, you're good. It's water, right? So think about water. What does water do? It pools, right? It like falls. So sadness is like a downward collapse, a slumping, a swampy, heavy thing. And so that's the opposite energetic, right, from fire. And then fear is really interesting and tricky because it can do both. So sometimes when we're fear or afraid or we're stressed, we're like really frenetic and we feel like, you know. But sometimes when we're afraid, we feel helpless, like paralyzed and deer in headlights, and it's going to more lend toward that downward slumpy sadness. And actually fear can be released really well through tears, just like sadness. Because usually when you're really afraid, kind of physically and intensely afraid, you're going to, part of you probably feels helpless or hopeless. And so it's possible to cry from that. And shame is also like fear meaning it's bifurcated. So shame, the root of shame, I think the way most of us feel in shame is really like that downward, like we want to hide and we feel terrible and we want to cry. Like nobody likes me, I'm fucked up or whatever. But also there's a part of moving shame which is about like saying no or fighting back or saying, fuck that noise, I'm not going to believe that anymore. And that energetic is more of a like outward kind of fighting, but you're really kind of working with anger and shame in that way. So what I want you to get is that understanding that your emotions have different energetics can help you know how to move them, like whether or not you want to swaddle yourself in your bed and cry, or in a bathtub and cry and try to get your weighted blanket. Do you have one of those? I don't, but they seem cool. Or lay on the ground or lay on the earth, you know, that kind of like downward thing, and where you're hoping that maybe if you're lucky you'll have tears. Or if you need to like turn on really weird music and frenetically dance like a freak in your living room and punch the air because you're more like trying to move frenetic fear and or anger, or you're fighting back. Okay, so follow the energetics, and that's a really good way. It's actually in some way more than naming the name or naming the feeling. You want to be able to move the energetic. And one more thing is just don't think that it's like simple. You know, it's probably going to be a big old tangled mess of all the feelings. So your point or your job is to like listen to what's emerging in that moment and let that out. So maybe you're doing anger work and you're punching the air, you're hitting your bed, and then suddenly you want to cry. So then you swaddle yourself and you cry, and then you just do the next thing and the next thing. And that's what I call a feeling party. See you next time. This is the Healing Feeling Shit Show. Are you gonna have that feeling and let it go? There is no other way to feel whole. This is the Healing Feeling Shit Show.